to recess to closed session. And then we will come back after we have concluded, and we will reopen the hearing session. The Board of Behavioral Sciences is called back to order at 1:11 on May 9th, 2018. Your Honor.
All right, we're now going to move on to Selena Horton. You want to have a seat here? All right. Now, Ms. Horton, if you could move that microphone so it's facing you a little bit, that'll help. All right. And let's go ahead and open the record. So the hearing is open now in the matter of Selena R. Horton. The case number is AP-2013-449. The OAH number is 2018-040313. This is a petition before the Board of Behavioral Sciences, and today is May 9th, 2018. The hearing is being conducted in Universal City, California. And my name is Matthew Goldsby. I'm the Administrative Law Judge for the hearing. Let me get appearances, please.
Good afternoon. Deputy Attorney General Catherine Massana, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. And can you state your name and spell it, please?
My name is Selena Horton, CELENAHORTON.
Ms. Horton, were you expecting an attorney to represent you today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I know it's the afternoon now, but were you here this morning when I explained how these hearings work and what you can expect to
Yes.
encounter? You have any questions about the procedures?
No.
All right, then let's proceed with the hearing. Ms. Massana, did you want to make an opening statement?
First, if I may, I'd like to introduce Exhibit 1.
All right, why don't you explain what that is?
I would like to mark for identification and offer into evidence as Exhibit 1 the following documents: the petition for early termination of probation, the decision and order in case number AP-2013-449, the notice of hearing, and the registration history certification.
All right, I've received these documents, and they're marked as Exhibit 1 for identification. Ms. Horton, have you had a chance to look at these documents?
Yes.
Do you have any objections to them being presented to the board?
No.
Exhibit 1 is admitted then. Ms. Massana, do you have any other preliminary remarks you'd like to make?
If I may give a background of this case.
Please.
Thank you. This matter is before the board on a petition for early termination of probation. Just by way of background, on February 14th of 1997, petitioner was convicted of one misdemeanor count of violating Penal Code Section 484, Subdivision A. On April 29th of 1997, petitioner was convicted of one misdemeanor count of violating Penal Code Section 484E, Sub C. On May 13th of 1998, petitioner was convicted of one misdemeanor count of violating Penal Code Section 666 for petty theft with a prior. On May 14th of 1998, petitioner was convicted of one misdemeanor count of violating Penal Code Section 484, Subdivision A. On May 15th of 1998, petitioner was convicted of one misdemeanor count of violating Penal Code Section 594, Subdivision A3, and one misdemeanor count of violating Penal Code Section 415, Subdivision 3. On January 2nd of 2003, petitioner was convicted of one misdemeanor count of violating Vehicle Code Section 14601.1, Subdivision A. On January 6th of 2003, petitioner was convicted of one misdemeanor count of violating Penal Code Section 148.9, Subdivision A. On January 14th of 2003, petitioner was convicted of one misdemeanor count of violating Vehicle Code Section 14601, Subdivision A. And on December 14th of 2009, Petitioner was convicted of one felony count of violating Penal Code Section 132. On or about July 1st of 2012, Ms. Horton submitted an application for registration as an associate clinical social worker. The board denied her application and she appealed. On July 10th, 2013, the board filed Statement of Issues number AP 2013-449, alleging that her application was subject to denial for the following causes: substantially related criminal convictions, acts involving dishonesty, and acts constituting grounds for discipline of one holding a registration. Effective December 25th of 2013, the agency issued a decision and order which issued a registration to Ms. Horton, revoked the registration, and placed the registration on probation with terms and conditions. The probationary term was 3 years. The probation was tolled from October 10th, 2014 to October 1st, 2016, so her probation is scheduled to terminate on December 18th of 2018. On January 19th of this year, Ms. Horton submitted the petition that's before the board today. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Horton, are you here to testify?
Yes.
Then let me have you raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right. Since you're not represented by counsel, we'll let you can put your hand down. Tell us in narrative style, meaning in any sequence that you want to go, whatever you think is important to support your petition. And the board will have some questions for you. Did you bring any documents that you were going to present?
Yes. I believe that she provided you guys, the board, with supporting documents to my petition, which are letters. There is also the minute orders regarding the cases that she read attached, along with the probation, the therapy reports. And I also provided the board with a copy of the psychological evaluation that was conducted.
All right, I'm going to mark all of these documents collectively as Exhibit A for identification. Ms. Masana, have you had a chance to look at these documents?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any objections to them being presented to the board?
No objections.
So Exhibit A will be admitted. All right, Ms. Horton, do you have a statement that you wanted to make?
Yes.
Go ahead.
During January 1997 to May of 1998, I was experiencing extreme hardship. I had 2 daughters, and their father was not providing any assistance, nor was his family. My father wasn't able to help. He was struggling financially, and my mother was addicted to crack cocaine. She made, I didn't know I was going to get.
Take your time.
She made me and my daughters move out because of this, we would argue about different things, her drug use and other things, thank you, that she would do. And so she made us move, and we were homeless. We stayed with different friends. And so it led to me stealing. I would steal clothes for them, diapers, food. And during that time, I would get tickets, citations for stealing. So that's why it was so many. And in May of '98, when it happened, I actually had to go to jail for 6 weeks away from my babies, and it was horrible. So I stopped stealing, was working, doing the best I could to provide for us. And during the time when my brother got killed, he got hit by a car on the freeway. I had a traffic ticket, and it was for not having insurance. I got a paper from my mom and submitted it to the court. And so I was convicted for giving the court false evidence. And, since then, I have completely changed my life. I've been blessed beyond words. I just use, everything that I've been through as a learning experience on what not to do, what to teach my daughters. It's been successful. My oldest daughter just graduated from Cal State LA in December. She's currently a special ed teacher. And my youngest daughter is going into nursing. I have a 3-year-old son. And that's why I had to toll the probation, because during that time I had completed a psychological evaluation back then, and the psychologist could not turn in a report. She said she had to go on vacation. And I had a high-risk pregnancy. I had preeclampsia, and it was just so much stress, having to complete the stipulations of the probation. So I had to toll it for a couple of years. After I had him, I had extremely high blood pressure. It was 200 over 126 or something. And so I just wanted to, stabilize get my health together, and become financially able to pay for the probation and the psychological evaluation. So once I was able to, I untold the probation, and I've also went back to school. I'm working on my PsyD, so that I could be able to provide the best services for the clients that I serve. As I said, I have definitely learned from my experiences, not to make impulsive decisions, to reach out for help from organizations. I have a lot more information than I did back then. I was young and following the wrong crowd, and just at the time desperate, and made horrible decisions. Even when I turned in that fake insurance paper, it was wrong, and I've learned to just make the right decision. If it's a gray area, I have a network of friends who are licensed therapists. I can talk to them. And let's see, I have some stuff written down because I figured I wouldn't be able to remember. The reason why I want to terminate the probation early is because I have completed most of the terms of the probation. I've been enrolled in psychotherapy for over 2 years. I obtained the psychological evaluation. I completed the law and ethics course that was required. I have maintained consistent employment, enrolled in a graduate program to attain my PsyD. so that I can improve my clinical skills and expand my knowledge to be able to better serve the population that I work with. I didn't bring it, but I also passed the law and ethics test that's required for the interns to take. And also being off probation will allow me to have more employment options because being on probation, a lot of employers will not hire me. I have learned that the board values the consumers and wants to protect them overall. And I agree. I want to protect my clients. I don't want to do any harm. So I've also learned how to deal with ethical dilemmas. It has taught me to create a network of clinicians who I can consult with about different issues. I've learned to appreciate my registration and understand the risks of making the wrong decision. I will remember the consequences from my poor decisions in the past and will reflect on my actions. And I have learned to think things out before making decisions. If I have a maladaptive thought, I will also think about the embarrassment from the last crime that I committed, how embarrassing that was to my family, to my daughters, you know, who look up to me, and my son and granddaughter. My goal is to continue to be a positive role model for my children and my granddaughter. If I think that it is a gray area, I will consult with one of my professional licensed colleagues. If they aren't available, then I will make a decision based on the action that I think that the majority of my licensed professional colleagues would make. I focus on self-care. I read a lot of self-help books. I recently got into, oh God, I can't even think. Oh God, I'll get back to that. Providing, receive more support. I have a better support system than when I was younger. Develop safeguards, took law and ethics, keeping myself educated and informed of the laws, and also mindfulness. That's the book that I'm reading. It's a mindfulness CBT book, and I believe it's 8 weeks, and it teaches you different meditations. So I do that. I also have Insight Timer downloaded on my phone, and it's a bunch of different guided meditations that I do because even dealing with the stipulations for the board, it has been hard. It's been stressful going to school, working, you know, just trying to get by. So I don't have anything else to share, but I'm open for questions.
Well, let's see if anyone has questions. Let's start with Ms. Masada. Do you have any preliminary questions?
I'd like to defer any questions I may have until after the board members have had a chance.
All right, well, let's see if the board members have questions. Let's start with Betty Connolly. Do you have any questions?
I know, I'm not prepared.
Sure, nobody falls asleep.
Well, first of all, I just have to acknowledge the tremendous persistence and resilience to get through the kind of life you've had and get to where you are. So,
Thank you.
hats off. But just remind me again where you are in terms of your licensing. So I've just been trying to glance real quick. Are you licensed now?
No, I'm not licensed
So you're
yet.
getting
I am
ready to
getting
take the exam?
supervision. I'm receiving supervision by the end of the year. I should be able to take the exam.
Okay, so you're off probation in December of 18, right?
Yes.
So that will probably coincide with about the time that you're going to be taking your license.
Probably like around January or February.
So as much as I, again, totally value you coming in, and I'm
Yes.
just not seeing what's going to be that much different for you, what the motive, because you said and I completely get that you going forward to try and find a job and having probation is not, but it sounds like you're going to be off by then anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, I also won't have to pay fees for whatever amount
Okay.
of time because I have to pay to be on probation.
Okay,
I won't have to go to therapy once a week. You know, um, it's costly.
Mhm.
It's costly being on probation, and I've learned from it. You know, that's the biggest picture. I have definitely learned to value my license and not making irrational, spur of the moment decisions, thinking things through. And I know that having this experience has caused me to value my license more than if I didn't have to go through it.
thanks. And I know some of my colleagues will have more in-depth questions about your therapy, but just in looking through your records, it sounds like in the past, before this happened,
Yes.
your go-to self-care really didn't involve therapy. It involved a lot of other things. It involved,
Right.
the relationship with your church and prayer and
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
But I guess I'm kind of wondering how you feel about therapy now.
I believe in therapy, 100%. My therapist has opened up doors, like developing the network of colleagues who I could talk to. She encouraged me to do that. And also with mindfulness, we talk about it in therapy, and I also decided to start, doing it on my personal time. It's not like homework that she gave me. It was just a discussion, and I said, that sounds like something that I would benefit from because I am under a lot of stress, and so it definitely helps with impulsive decisions and remaining in the present. So
So if we were to remove that condition, do you think you would continue to seek out therapy in the future?
for sure, if I need it, I definitely would. I feel like right now I don't need it because I don't have anything that's outside of the normal stress of going to school, being a single parent. It is hard, but I've learned a lot of things in therapy. So for right now,
Well, thanks again for coming in.
yes.
Christina Wong, do you have questions?
Yes, good afternoon, and thanks for waiting so patiently.
Yes.
So, it looks like, from your testimony that, the family has been kind of like a big stressor in your life.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So how do you manage it now? And whether you learn anything, about that relationship, during your psychotherapy time? Can you share a little bit?
Definitely. I used to argue with my mother a lot, who she's currently sober from using crack and drinking alcohol. She experienced health problems, which forced her to stop. So in therapy, I learned how to create a boundary with my mom, and instead of taking the bait, if she, started an argument, in the call, or just get quiet and let her, proceed without, you know, uh, um, arguing with her. So I learned that in therapy. I also learned not to take what she says personally, because she has a lot of issues that she definitely needs to work through. She's experienced a lot of trauma. And so it's not for her, but for me, you know, to understand where she's coming from, because then I'm not so defensive, when she says certain things. And my father, he has passed away. So I never had issues with it. He was poor. He didn't have a lot of money. So
Thank you very much. It's hard to talk about this. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's move on. Dr. Brew, do you have any questions?
Hi. My first question is, you had talked about that you wouldn't steal anymore because it's wrong.
yes.
Tell me why it's wrong.
It's wrong because, number one, you're taking money from the store owners, or from their profits. It's wrong because my daughters and my granddaughter and son is looking at that behavior, and I don't want them to do that. It's wrong. It's just the wrong thing to do. You work hard, you pay for what you want. If you can't pay for it, don't even think about taking it. If I got to a position where I was struggling financially like I was back then, I have a whole list of resources where I could get assistance. Different organizations, churches, and things like that. And I didn't have that type of support back then. I really didn't. I didn't even know about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I definitely saw how poverty was a part of what happened and not knowing how to get help. That was my
Yes.
number 2 question, and you answered it, so that's good. The next question I have, I was noticing with your quarterly reports that there was a non-compliance letter because it wasn't weekly, and then after 2016, it says for your that your 4 out of 5 reports were received on time. So I'm a little
Yes.
concerned about the lack of rigor.
Yes. So when I told my probation for the 2 years, I was under the impression that I did not have to turn in any reports during that time. I was under the impression that everything stopped. So once I untold the probation, we were discussing things that I needed to start, that I needed to complete, like the psychological evaluation and everything. And it came up at that time where my probation monitor said, I noticed that you didn't have any reports during the time that your probation was told. And I explained to her, I thought that I was under the impression that I didn't have to turn anything in. I didn't receive any violation notices or anything. And so she said, don't worry about it. Just turn in the reports, from now. And I did. Once she left, I guess my file was audited, and they noticed it, and I got the violation letter. And did you ask about the therapy?
So the last thing was the 4 out of 5 reports were on time,
Oh, on
meaning 1 out of
time.
5 is late.
I didn't know about. I wasn't aware of the dates. Like, you had to have it in by the 7th. I have it on my refrigerator now, but I wasn't aware that it had to be like by this date. I thought it was just you turn it in that month.
Yeah.
I wasn't informed.
So lots of those details were overlooked on your part, I guess, and
Yes.
misunderstood. Okay.
Mhm, yes.
And then the other piece I wanted to ask about, thank you so much for giving your paperwork on the psych eval. That's really, really helpful in us
Okay.
understanding.
Okay.
And one of the things that she recommended you could work on are attentional issues, which I'm thinking about with details that we just
Yes.
spoke about,
Yes.
and stress management, basically.
Yes.
And you've listed some stuff that you're doing for stress management, your friends and family and church and colleagues and
Yes.
therapy.
Mhm.
If another big disaster happens, are you ready?
Oh, yes. The big disaster was, the last big disaster was, after I had my son. He was probably around 6 months old, 6 or maybe 8 months old. I got a call from the LA County coroner telling me that they found my dad dead in his truck. So
And you got through that.
I got through it, and I was able to stay in school, and so I'm able to make better decisions now. I've been through so much, so
It sounds like it. I applaud your resilience.
yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ashley Samora, do you have any
Other way
questions?
around.
I'm sorry, Samora Ashley, do you
It
have any
happens,
questions?
it's okay, it happens every day. No, actually, it honestly does. No, but Dr. Brew asked the question that I had in terms of how do you handle stress in your life, but I just wanted to thank you for sharing today.
Okay.
All right, Jonathan Maddox, do you have questions?
So I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you very much for coming today. It is a pleasure to hear your story and to hear the resilience and the tenacity and perseverance that you've demonstrated to rehabilitate your life. Trauma impacts certain communities in ways that are not obvious to all people, but I'm fully aware of how poverty and generational challenges could put someone in a position to not only make the decisions that you made, but to continue to make them throughout their lives. And it's wonderful to see that you've have turned and pivoted in a way that you are giving back to and have been a role model to your family. So I want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for the life choices, and thank you for embodying our necessity to remember that people are not the accumulation of the choices that they've made in their past, but that people can make different choices and move forward and be productive, honorable citizens. So thank you very much for coming today.
You're welcome.
All right, Renee Launer, do you have questions?
I have no questions at all. I just want to thank you very, very much for coming in and really just congratulate you on what you've done and what you're continuing to do. Thank you.
Dr. Wildesbach?
And I have no questions either. I just want to echo the sentiments of Jonathan and Renee and everyone else who said such complimentary things about where you've been and where you are now. It's really, it's remarkable to see.
Thank you.
Dr. Peter Chu?
Thank you. I agree with all been said, and it's remarkable you turn your life around and show tremendous courage, and congratulations. I do have one quick question. I couldn't find any letter from your therapist. Did you get your therapist to write a letter to support your early termination of probation?
I did not get a letter from her because she turns in the reports, and I didn't think to do it. I didn't think to get one from her.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, let's turn to the chair. Deborah Brown, do you have any questions?
Thank you for coming in, and just as everyone else has said, you are a true testament to resiliency, and I wish you the best of luck and congratulations on moving forward with your safety.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Masana, any follow-up questions?
No follow-up questions, Your Honor.
Any closing remarks?
Nope, the people have completed their presentation. Thank you very much.
All right, Ms. Horton, do you want to say anything that you haven't had a chance to say before we conclude?
Just that I'm grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, with that, we will conclude the hearing and we'll go off the record. Thank you very much. You're free to go.
Okay, thank you.
All right, 2-minute break, and then we will move on to Mr. Nelson. All right, if we could come to order. Mr. Nelson, last but not least.
What a trooper.
You drew the short straw today. Thank you for waiting. All right, let's go ahead and open the record. The hearing is open now in the matter of Robert Thomas Nelson. The case number is 2002-015-000-900. The OAH number is 2018-040269. This is a petition before the Board of Behavioral Sciences, and today is May 9th, 2018. The hearing is being conducted in Universal City, California. My name is Matthew Goldsby, the Administrative Law Judge for the hearing. Let me get appearances, please.
Good afternoon. Deputy Attorney General Melissa Tyner, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California, pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. And can you state and spell your name, please?
I'm Robert Nelson, Robert Nelson. Middle name is Thomas, Thomas. That's on my registration.
All right. And you're here without an attorney today?
Yes.
Were you here this morning when I explained to everyone in general how these hearings are proceeded?
Yes.
And do you have any questions about the process?
No.
You've sat through several of these, so you have a good idea of what this looks like.
I do.
Okay. Then let's go ahead and begin. Ms. Tyner, did you want to make an opening statement?
First, if I may, I'd like to introduce a few documents.
You may.
I'd like to mark for identification and offer into evidence as Exhibit 1 the following: a petition for modification of penalty, the decision and order dated November 6, 2015, the notice of hearing, and the registration history certification. Your Honor and the petitioner have been provided with a copy of the same set of this exhibit.
I've received it. It's marked as Exhibit 1 for identification. Mr. Nelson, do you have any objections to Exhibit 1?
No.
Exhibit 1 will be admitted. Do you have any other preliminary remarks you'd like to make?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Thank you. This is a petition for early termination of probation for Robert Thomas Nelson. The petitioner applied for an associate marriage and family therapist registration in 2015. The board filed a statement of issues due to petitioner's criminal history on July 2nd, 2015. Petitioner was convicted of the following offenses: a conviction for being under the influence of a controlled substance in May of 1993, a conviction for possession of a controlled substance and petty theft in January of 1995, a conviction for petty theft in 1997, a conviction for petty theft in October of 98, a conviction for being under the influence of a controlled substance in January of 2003, a conviction for possession of a controlled substance and petty theft with priors in December of 2003, a conviction for possession of controlled substance and being under the influence of a controlled substance in October of 2009, and a conviction for possession of a controlled substance without a prescription and being under the influence of a controlled substance in May of 2011. The board subsequently adopted the stipulated settlement and disciplinary order, which issued the petitioner a registration. The registration was immediately revoked, stayed, and the petitioner was placed on 5 years probation with optional and standard terms and conditions, effective February 24th of 2016. Today, the petitioner is requesting early termination of his probation. Thank you.
All right. All right, Mr. Nelson, are you here to testify today?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Then let me have you raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. As you've heard others before you, you're free to tell the board anything that you think is important in whatever order you want to present it. Did you bring any documents that you wanted to present to the board?
Yes, I did. These are, this is a copy of everything I submitted in my petition.
All right.
And I've added one. Oh, okay, apology.
That will help.
A lot. This is a copy of everything that I submitted, all the documents in my petition for termination, and I've added one photograph.
All right. And you've shown all this to Ms. Tyner?
Yes.
Yes.
And Ms. Tyner, do you have any objections to these documents, which I will mark as Exhibit A, being presented to the board?
No objections.
Can we get some help to, has it already been distributed? Yes. It's already been distributed. All right, so Exhibit, We don't have the photograph? Photos in it, okay, so Exhibit A is admitted.
Okay.
All right, so Mr. Nelson, go ahead and tell us what it is you feel is important in support of your application.
Okay. First of all, I want to say hearing my past definitely keeps me humble. It's been a long journey. A long journey. That being said, I'm very excited about the life that I live today. I do have a much better life, and I'm grateful also that I'm able to use my experiences to save lives. I've been working in addiction for the last 5 years, and I know I've helped a lot of people. Some of what I know about addiction and recovery, my own addiction and my own recovery, there is a lot to learn. There was a lot to learn. It's a very steep learning curve. I liken it to recovery to a grand puzzle. This out of the way. There are pieces that may be missing to your puzzle, and it's your job to figure out what those are if you want long-lasting abstinence and recovery. And so you have to know, I have had to learn my strengths and weaknesses, know my strengths and weaknesses and my barriers, and address those. From 2004, that's when I really started trying to achieve permanent abstinence, permanent recovery. And from 2004 to 2009, I was able to be clean and sober for 5 years, and I was working in the addiction field and earning my degrees, working on my master's degree. But there were some pieces of the puzzle missing. And I'm really grateful that I was able to discover some of those. Today, I have 7 years of continuous recovery. I just celebrated 7 years on the 2nd of May, and so I'm very proud of that. That leads me to the picture. The picture that I've submitted is that I've added today. This photograph right here. I do have copies for everybody if it wasn't in the packet.
I frankly don't have anything that you, it is, okay, so there's just one set that's being, okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. So this was me. This was also me this was taken about the time I turned in my application for my first registration. I've submitted this because it's really a symbol, really, of my commitment to recovery, to my emotional well-being, to my health. It's very much a symbol of my relapse prevention program. I lost 120 pounds, and I was able to do it naturally. A lot of discipline, a lot of cardio, a lot of stick-to-itiveness. One of the reasons why I bring this up is that my last charges in 2009 and 2011, even though they were after 5 years of continuous recovery, I've always had body images most of my life, and being overweight was really heavy on my heart. It had been heavy on my heart for a lot of years. There was a lot of nagging self-doubt, and sort of seeing life in terms of, and relationships in terms of body image, kept me sort of, at least romantically, sort of lonely. So ultimately that led to this hope that I would be able to lose weight using a diet program, even though it was supervised by a doctor. and it contained amphetamine, my addiction, the history. One of the things is amphetamine. And so the relapses were a direct result of that. It led to opening up that door to addiction and then relapse. So I just wanted to show, I didn't think to do this when I submitted my packet, but I really started to think this is really a symbol, of, like I said, of my commitment. I lost all the weight naturally. I didn't have to resort to diet pills, and I feel so much better, just in every way. And I have to say, I've been able to address the body images as well. For a while, I still felt like I looked like this, and now I don't. And I've pared this down because I know I'm going to be receiving targeted questions. I just want to also say, talk a little bit about how I'm able to use my past, colorful past, in helping other people. One of the things that I believe helps make me safe to practice. For one thing, I have a lot of empathy for other people. I understand. I do understand deep pain, and it allows me to stay present with my patients. They call them patients at my treatment center, clients, and be non-judgmental and just have conditional positive regard no matter what, and put them above all else. Again, that's why I really knew I needed to do this. There's a lot of personalities in addiction and addiction treatment. I've had to learn how, practice the art and have the patience and, the knowledge that insight takes time and change sometimes comes slow. I've been able to use small doses of self-disclosure, and it seems to go a long way, or I know it can. And it helps me inspire confidence and enthusiasm for change and build motivation and restore hope. And these are the things that I've been able to do for myself. I know change is possible. I'm able to show change is possible. Some of the issues I've overcome in the last 7 years and in therapy, I've been in therapy much of the last 7 years. Sort of resolving profound guilt, deep shame, learning to manage anxiety and stress, using a host of coping skills that I was not only able to learn and use but teach, managing and overcoming depression and sadness, grief and grief. Some of what my relapse prevention plan includes, my comprehensive plan. Number one, I have a whole group of healthy friends. Most of them are in recovery. A lot of them are former colleagues, and no one in my personal life that I associate with uses drugs. I'm involved in 12-step recovery, AA and Crystal Meth Anonymous, and part of my recovery plan is helping others. I have an awesome connection with my higher power, which for me is nature. Living in Palm Springs, I was able to spend a lot of time in the mountains and hiking. I recently moved here to Long Beach because I grew up here and to be near the beach. I have a sponsor that I've had for several years. Balance. Preventing relapse is all about balance for me. My recovery is all about balance. Balance of work and fun, going to the gym, exercise. I'm on the softball league, and boundaries. Being a gay man and living in the gay community, there's a very higher prevalence of substance abuse in the LGBT community, and boundaries are very important to me because I will run across that in the community, and I know who to let into my life and who not to. Towards the end of 2016, just an example of coping skills that I was able to use. I went through one of the greatest heartaches of the last, really one of the greatest heartaches of my life. It was a relationship that did not turn out to be, and there was a grieving process. In spite of that, I was able to use my support and continue to learn and reflection, and able to do the job that I do, that I love. And it really taught me, looking back over my life, I'm amazed at the things I've been able to go. The things I've been able to go through in my life, and in the last few years especially, and stay clean and sober. And it taught me that I can get through anything, because this was very serious, very severe, of a letdown, and still be ever present and productive and manage my own issues and not use. And finally, I just, I do want to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for allowing me the opportunity not only to be here, but also do what I love and make a difference. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Ms. Tyner, do you have any preliminary questions?
I will postpone questions for now and defer to the board.
All right. Renee Lahner, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but thank you very much for coming in today, and congratulations on what you
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Wittelsbach?
I have no questions either. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Dr. Peter Chu?
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry, I missed a sobriety date.
May 2nd, 2011.
Thank you. So your therapist is Dr. Clint Newell?
He was one of my clinical supervisors in accumulating my hours. By the way, I have my more than 3,000 hours, probably about almost 100 hours of weekly supervision. So I'm getting close to being able to take the test. But no, my current therapist, I moved to Long Beach in March, the middle of March, and I've submitted a request for a new therapist. I did start seeing him within 2 weeks after I moved here. My most recent one is Ryan Rickert in Palm Springs.
Right, yeah. I guess he wrote a letter and say you're fit to practice safely, but did he come out and say you should be off probation?
I heard that question earlier in some of the, with the other petitioners, and I went back and I looked at the letter, and that's what I had asked for, and I know that's what he meant, and that's what he said in the last few sentences, but no, it doesn't, I agree with that, it does not outright sound like it says that.
So you kind of said it before, but I just want you to summarize. I mean, if we terminate the probation, what assurance you can give us, that the public is safe?
First of all, I know a whole lot about myself and my addiction and recovery. I will always be involved in 12-step recovery. That's not going to change. There have been times in my life where I've gone to 8 or 9 meetings a week, and there are times when I certainly don't need 8 or 9. I have a whole host of coping skills to deal with, the normal everyday challenges of my life. As far as therapy, what I really wanted to do is I would like to continue therapy, but over the internet with Ryan in Palm Springs, because we had a very deep connection, and I realize I can't do that right now. And I can't afford to pay for two therapists. So, I mean, that would be one thing that would help.
I don't know how the board is going to decide on your request, but if the board going to decide not in your favor, but would you consider reduction of terms, and for reduction of the probationary terms, which one is most problematic for you that you would like the board to modify?
Absolutely, and I appreciate that and understand that. Certainly the biological testing, currently with the therapy, that's about $4,000 a year, and the testing, that's about $5,000, and then there's the $1,200 of the probation costs. That's at least 25% of my take-home income, and it has been definitely not only a source of stress. I've had to take a small part-time job to help. Reducing the biological testing would help a whole lot, because it's $100 a week now, and that adds up. That's one thing. I would like the opportunity to continue the therapy if you were going to reduce it. I don't know if you can make any kind of sort of a modification that I could do it over the internet. I had a very good connection with Ryan, Dr. Rickert, maybe 2 times a month, no less than that, because that's just what I want. And what really, that's what I want and what I can use. If not, I mean, I'll continue developing the relationship with the new therapist. What else is there? Yeah, so those two things. It's mostly a financial situation for me.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, Deborah Brown, do you have any questions?
I don't have a question, but thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, Betty Connolly, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Christina Wong?
Yes. Hi, thanks for being patient and, being the last one, and it's a lot of stress.
Thank you.
Yes. So I just wonder a little bit about your substance abuse history.
Mhm.
So congratulations for almost having 7 years of sobriety, and that's really wonderful. And I also noticed that you went through Prop 36,
Yes,
the
yes,
drug
I did.
court, and did you successfully completed that?
Yes, I completed that, and then the Prop 36 was, the probation was, dismissed and the charge set aside because of finishing the program.
And that's a pretty vigorous program, so also
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
So now, looking back, so when did you start using, or, that you recognize that you have a substance abuse issues?
Well, I hadn't drank or used a drug. I was actually very anti-drug when I was going through high school. Coming to terms with being gay back in 1981 or 2 when I was coming out, the only real place, and I lived here in LA, to go to meet, I grew up in Granada Hills. I didn't know any gay people. I had never talked about it. Gay bars. I had even heard something on the news right before I came out, details at 11, alcoholism is much higher in the LGBT community or the gay community. I didn't understand that at the time. So that's when I started drinking. It didn't become a problem till several years later. I also tried cocaine with somebody that I had feelings for when I was about 19. Being sort of lonely and sort of isolated about being gay. Most of my childhood, I really felt willing to do, go against my better judgment, do something I was afraid of, and he wanted to do it, so I tried it, and so that opened the door. So the addiction really took root in the right around 1990. Just all of a sudden one day I crossed over into everyday use.
So have you tried to stop using, during the last probably 3 decades of substance use?
Honestly, I started telling people, my family, my grandmother, loved ones, hey, I'm addicted to drugs. I can't stop. And that was probably like I said, around 1990. My parents were very concerned. I never really knew. I may have heard Alcoholics Anonymous before, but I didn't really know. I thought that, okay, when you're addicted, you have to not have cravings and not want to use, and then you're cured. Like, I didn't understand that I could have cravings and go get help and learn how to cope with that. So I didn't really give it a lot of thought. I didn't start until the 90s. Yeah.
So, so staying clean and sober, completely clean and sober is, happening, in the last 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now you look back, so, you talked a lot about like the body image and the feeling lonely and stuff like that. So, and that's a wonderful thing that, you actually lost weight and be able to improve your body image. So nowadays, how about your support system? Because then how do you deal with, that, because it's so easy to just shut down and go into, your apartment and, you can just fall off the radar. So how do you deal with it, as a way to, not reverting back to using substance to deal with that emotions?
Mm-hmm. Most of my close friends, and I have quite a few, are from recovery. So I do spend a lot of time with my friends. I have my sponsor that I talk to several times during the week. I do have the therapy, and like I said, I am going to continue that, hopefully with Dr. Rickert. So that's helpful. And, healthy balance, healthy lifestyle, lots of friends, all of who are healthy. It's kind of what does it for me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Brew.
Hi. So I have two questions and they might be related, so I think I'm going to put them both out there and see if there's a connection or maybe they're not. You had talked about the recovery that you had between 2004 and 2009.
Yes.
And you'd mentioned that there were pieces missing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious about what pieces those were. And then the second piece or question I had was when you started doing the amphetamines for weight loss, did you tell your doctor that you were in recovery? So,
Okay. I'm actually glad you asked those two because it's a couple things that I would have, that I wanted to go into that I just didn't want to, pieces that were missing. Number one, having the body images and being overweight, and really, having been lonely, I did get into a relationship with a man who was, and this was in 2005, who turned out to not really be that nice of a guy. He was abusive and dishonest, and I hung on to a dysfunctional relationship longer than I should have, and it there's a cost to that. I've definitely learned from that.
is that the boundaries that you spoke of?
Boundaries, yes, boundaries, and listening to the red flags, and dealing with any codependency issues that I might have. I'd much rather be, and I've learned how to be single than be in that kind of a relationship. That being said, it was around somewhere in the middle of that relationship, around 2008. Typical conflict that we were having. I went to work one day. My supervisor at the treatment center, she had 10 years clean and sober from meth. She implied that what you could do, what you need to do is lose weight so you can get a new boyfriend. Move past this relationship. Let me tell you about the program that I'm doing. And she was, seeing a doctor in a medically supervised program, and she said, well, I didn't tell him that I'm a doctor, that I'm an addict, so you shouldn't tell him that. So there's one piece of the puzzle, right? Not telling the doctor, going with your hopes instead of what you've learned. don't tell the company because we really should be getting permission and they will allow you to do it, but then people will talk about it, so there's a secret, keeping a secret. Keeping that secret prevented me from telling people in my support group, hey, I'm on this diet plan, I plateaued. In my mind, even though the pills were too strong in the beginning, so I took half, so I built up extra. So over time, I started using extra, and in my mind, I'm handling this. I'll really lose weight if I use meth. And that's kind of how the progression went.
That's
So-
an accurate thought, too.
Yeah. Well, yes.
It's not the only thing you lose, but you will lose weight.
Yes, I paid dearly for that,
Yeah.
and I really thought it was going to cost my future ability to work in this field. So a lot of those puzzles, honesty, rigorous honesty, support, not keeping secrets, going with your gut, not switching from one drug to another. All of those types of issues were, puzzle pieces.
Thank you. That was really helpful.
Thank you.
All right, Samora, Ashley, do you have any questions?
Thank you. And thanks for sharing. Just a quick question. Have you ever served as a sponsor for anyone?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Quite a few people. Thank you.
Jonathan Maddox?
Just want to sort of echo what I shared to the previous person that was here. I am very impressed with your tenacity and perseverance over the years with maintaining your sobriety. And when circumstances of life have knocked you down, you're getting right back up and move forward. And so that speaks a lot about you. So thank you. Do I have a question? No. I don't think I have a question. I guess one thought would be, if we were to grant your early termination from probation, could you just sort of maybe spend some time sharing with us what sorts of things you would keep in place to ensure that your life stayed in that balanced sort of sober realm?
I will always seek out wise counsel among my friends, people who are clean and sober, people who understand addiction. 12-step will be a part of my life. It may not be, it certainly isn't, going to meetings every day, but that will be something that will be there. I can imagine a time where I might go to one meeting in a week. Other times when I might want to go to more. A lot of times I go just for the social aspect of it and having that support. I'm at a place where I'm benefiting from the therapy that I'm getting. I am navigating through, sort of dating and that sort of a thing. Now that I feel comfortable with my body, and just everything I've learned about myself and my addiction, and some of the education that I received was through Matrix Institute. So I'm not only able to teach, all about the issues involved in addiction, barriers, and changes to make, and so I'm keenly aware of that, and I know where I've been. There's no doubt whatsoever that I am addicted to meth if I use it, or alcohol will lead to meth, or become even, it's addictive too. I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict, and I like the life I have today.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, continue on the path that you're on.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Ms. Tyner, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Do you have any closing remarks?
The people have completed their presentation. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Nelson, anything that you want to say? Any final words before we finish up?
No, thank you, Your Honor. Just I want to say thank you to everyone. I really appreciate it. I felt very comfortable and welcomed here, and I thought it was going to be scary, but actually this was a warm reception. Just a little feedback, and I appreciate that.
On that note, we will conclude the hearing, and we're off the record. Thank you very much. Good luck, and you're free to go.
Thank you.
All right. Bathroom break.
Awesome. I will allow you to go to the bathroom.
Okay, I'm gonna go down and get a soda, see, that's. Okay. So then I'll need another bathroom break, yes, let's just, it's a vicious circle. Can I get you some?